There is nothing like a new pair of pruning shears. Except, of course, another pair of pruning shears, which would be a lot like every other pair of pruning shears. Hey, welcome to Eat Your Backyard, my YouTube channel, where I talk about all kinds of things that I'm into, edible and otherwise, subtropical, tropical plants, and so on, where I engage in rants about, loppers and mangoes and trees and fruit and how that relates to the ultimate truth of the universe, etc. So, welcome. And by the way, I have no idea what the ultimate truth of the universe is. I think that's where you start. Know that you don't know. But I'll tell you this much. I love my backyard. Something interesting was my oldest son, some of his friends, we had a beach barbecue, and they came and walked around my yard last night, and here's why I love it. Well, so many reasons why I love having a yard like I've created back here, which is that they said, we just walked around and picked mulberries and ate cherries, and in fact, one of the boys, Carlos, said he ate the Suriname cherry, which I was very pleased to hear. And let's see, I think I'm going to eat a Suriname cherry. Not that one, because it's like a mutant. This one is, yeah. I don't think I'll... we're at the end of a bumper crop of cherries, and now we're down to the dudlings. I don't think I'll be eating that one. Something a little askew about that one. So, however, hey, that looks like a winner. I like them when they're actually a little less red. They're a little more tart. Look at that. Like a pumpkin. Like a red pumpkin. But it's got a weird flavor to it. By weird, I mean great. Great weird. Just different. If you're expecting eating a Bing cherry and you eat this, you're not. It's like spicy. Almost like a hint of nutmeg to the Suriname cherry. It's just kind of bizarre, but I love it. And he said, oh, it was different, but I really liked it. Yeah, me too. Welcome to the Suriname Cherry Club that we're both part of now. Magic. I converted it to a pit. Anyhow, yeah, so that's what I love about this is idea we can just kind of have a yard where kids can walk around and eat things and have fun. And look at that mulberry. Isn't that a beauty? They're just loaded with mulberries and cherries. I love this time of year. And look at this. Is this absolutely crazy? Crazy good. You could eat mulberries until you literally suffer an explosion from your stomach of how much fruit you've jammed into your body if you wanted to. There's so much fruit. Birds like it. Little bird up in that bush. He's been getting his fill of mulberries. That's good. More than enough for everybody. So, yeah, okay, I got a little bit off the beaten track of what I was going to talk about, but, that's what I do. Okay, so let's talk about this. And I want it to be a metaphor for areas of your life which you haven't tended to, maybe. Everybody has that happen. Half-finished projects. I think that's probably not just common to... I think that's common to everybody, not just me. And I'll show you the example of this. So, I've created a natural stone wall that comes along here. And, it's kind of homespun, so to speak. And then we get what's happening here. We've got the many cracked concrete tree rings and stuff just stacked up and piled up. That's because I was stacking them here for to throw them away or to do something. I don't know. I probably thought I was going to make something with them that looked like probably something out of the hit TV series Sanford & Sons. But my wife always reminds me that's not a good look. Oh yeah, you're right. It's not a good look. But I stacked them there, and I think I was attacked by a swarm of malevolent mosquitoes, which intended to literally extract all the blood from me. So I retreated to the comfort of my air-conditioned home, and here we are. So I didn't do anything. And the other thing is, you know, this is part of a long-term vision where I had at one point, this is, oh, that's cool. I had at one point had the bed come all the way out. It had extended all the way out to here and come around. And this whole area was bromeliads and all kinds of plants, bamboo and so on. And I decided I wanted to kind of change the rhythm and go to a grass situation. So that took many years so that we could throw footballs and do that kind of stuff back here. And so I did. So over the years I've converted it, and that took a lot of effort, but we're here. And you can see it's not really fully integrated. This is not a great situation, but it's growing in. The St. Augustine grass will actually grow in, you know, quite well this summer. I'm going to hit it with a little fertilizer, and it'll fill in nicely, and then it'll look something like, you know, what this looks like, which is great for running in bare feet and throwing footballs. And by the way, football season's coming. Go Bucks. This is our year. We're going to win the Super Bowl. I hope. We're going to enjoy watching them try. Anyhow, yeah, so transition, and this project was, you know, kind of semi long-term, and then short-term, the things I was doing I kind of got stalled on and I didn't finish it up. Other things came up. But I was trying to grow, basically the concept here was I was trying to grow some shrub type things down low to have a consistent level here that would also contrast with this beautiful white fence that my neighbor had installed, and then have some more tree-formed things like this Dracaena come up and then fan out above it to kind of provide that privacy up above. So we're really getting there. And in the process, I also, you know, made some adjustments. But you can see these two tree-formed Dracaena, you know, looking pretty good. They got whacked by that hurricane, by the way, but looking pretty good. I've been keeping up on it. This shrub like Schefflera, dwarf Schefflera, is also doing well. All of these things, everything you see here was grown from cuttings. And that, you know, that's a slow way to go. And it also can tend to look kind of hokey over time, so you got to tolerate that. But I've made other videos about enjoying the journey. I enjoy that journey. That's part of the fun for me. It's not about immediately the thing looking like I want it to look. For me, it's about the fun of really taking the time to enjoy the journey of getting it to the way I want it to look ultimately, and along the way enjoying the dance, so to speak, with these plants to see what. Now, the petunia has been a rather persistent foe of mine over the years, and I finally realized it's not a foe at all. That the belief that this thing had to be battled and fought was actually silliness. And you know, Stoic tenets would teach me that it really, my belief was kind of askew on that one. That it really was a great thing the whole time. It was just my viewpoint on it that was wrong. So yeah, it's invasive. You know, I planted it with cuttings, didn't realize how invasive it was, how persistent maybe might be the better word, or resilient could be a better word rather than invasive. You know, they're the same kind of qualities, just different words with different connotations. But it's here to stay. So, and if you, look at the bees buzzing around, they don't mind it. They love it. But, so I'm going to trim it. I'm going to make it more shrub-like. And all of these plants I'm going to make more shrub-like. So, all right, today's video is essentially, I guess it only took me about 5 minutes to get there, about starting the journey of having a line here for these plants. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to switch hands so I have my trimming hand free, and I think I want to go right about there. So let's start trimming. The thing is, when you trim a shrub, you want to kind of make sure you trim it back far enough so that when it does grow, you know, it has some space to grow out. So if I trim, if I want it to be even with the edge of this wall here, and I trim it even with the edge of that wall, when it grows, it's going to grow beyond that wall. So that's no good. Now when I trim it, so it creates this situation that's not good. So when you trim it, you really have to trim it back far. Now one way is to do it with loppers. When you do trimming with big loppers, you tend to create cut leaves and so on. So it's much cleaner to just take a surgical approach, so we say. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to go pretty far back. I'm going to go right here. Alright, that's good. Now, as a result, you can see. You can't really see the place where it was trimmed because those leaves kind of just cover it right in. And that's what we want. Now, what do we have here? Let's switch hands. We have a great cutting. And actually, if you look along the base of this, you can see all the little root, all those little white dots there are places where roots will grow. This Schefflera is a type of plant that will grow very readily from cuttings. So if I want, and I'm going to go ahead and, this is going to now become a cutting. I'll show you how easy it is. Well, it's easy here because the sand is the sand that we have in my yard, which is, you know, it's basically like somewhere close to beach sand with a little bit of dirt mixed in, is very, very loose. So it promotes root growth very well. If you have a very dense soil, you know, you might be in for a different kind of situation. But this essentially is ready to stick in the ground. And I have really 100% confidence that this cutting will grow. You know, so you can go what I call hog wild with cuttings. By that I mean you're just recklessly planting cuttings everywhere and then you got way too much of one thing. You know, I've done that. That's how I know. And I probably want to avoid that. But in this case, yeah, I'd like a little bit more Schefflera growth in here. And I just put these cuttings back in there and they'll do what they do, which is those leaves, they'll regrow. Okay, so I think I'll put one right back here. There we go. That'll work. That's all you got to do. Now I have a sprinkler system, and that will, without a doubt, it will water that and grow. So, oops, missed one. Umbrella tree, they call it sometimes. Why? It looks like an umbrella. Pretty cool. Very glossy green leaves. Alright. My loppers. Alright, so now we can actually see that wall. That's kind of a good thing. Now, you see this one is growing. It's starting to get close. And I'm actually going to, it's just starting to get beyond it. I'm going to cut that one back just a little bit. There we go. So that when it comes back, it grows in nicely as well. Yeah, and again, I just throw the leaf waste back in there. Here's another one. Again, starting to grow out a little bit beyond the wall, so I'll trim it back far enough. And these really aren't going to make great cuttings in my, yeah, they could, but they're too small and they're green. And they're small enough that I just put them back up here and they create mulch. The nutrients from those things go back into the soil, and that's what I want. Alright, so now we're starting to look like a shrub, which is really cool, if you ask me. Now these two are outside of where I want them to be. So again, I'm going to pick a spot far enough in that it promotes the right kind of growth. I'm going to go pretty far back in. Look at that. It's real woody. Oops. It's real woody back in here. That's kind of cool for a cutting for sure. That was a severe one. Alright, this one. This one, it's leaning up on that. That's really not what I want. I don't want to promote that. What I want is, for this one, my vision is I want to have these little nodes. Everywhere that there's a leaf attached to it, there's going to be a sprout opportunity. I want to promote it to sprout these sprouts up to fill in this bushiness. So I'm going to really go kind of far back on this one. I'm going to go right here. Alright. Now, there we go. It's starting to look pretty good. I think I'll make cuttings out of those as well. But now what? Now I have these others that are coming up a little bit too high. I think I'll go right there. About right. Good. And this one. Oh. Trying to get there. And it might seem like we're really kind of going a little overboard on the trimming, but we're really not. This plant will grow back with a vengeance. So the more we trim it, actually, the more it's going to promote its new growth. Ironically, or actually, quite commonly, that's been my experience how life works. You know, you kind of make something angry, you know, it comes back with a fury. So it's also the way this Schefflera works, and probably the way people work. So, but by the way, sometimes you just have to do it. I'm not saying don't do that. In fact, I'm doing it right now for effect, for the reason of having it come back. Okay, so let's go ahead and trim this one. This one is growing up against my tree-form Dracaena. And the other thing is you can bend these. So these are pliable. You can bend these around and really, wherever you make them go where you want to go. So just because it's leaning up against something, it's not like it's an oak tree. You don't have to accept it. You can absolutely do what you want. Okay, so alright, that's a good one. Wow, that's a healthy candidate for a cutting for sure. Alright, this one, I'll go ahead and just, alright, good. This one growing up against the fence. I'll give this one a little bit more opportunity. Alright, excellent. Excellent. This one, yeah, I think I'll just let that one rest back there. Okay, so there we have it. Now we have a nice, basic shrub situation, which is definitely what I wanted. And it'll come back quite strongly. The key is to be able to trim it. Now the other things that are along here, like this Mexican petunia, need to follow the same standard. Because now I'm going to accept its presence in my yard, which means I want to trim it back. I want to use its positive qualities to achieve the thing that I'm hoping to achieve. You can see the St. Augustine grass just grows in like crazy. My advice there is just don't worry about that too much. Deal with it as you can, but you know, understand that it's going to happen. Alright, I'm going to get these little tips cut off here so that it starts to be shrub. Like all the little tips that I see that are growing like this, I'm just going to trim them off. By that I mean I want them to get more bushy. And the way they get more bushy is by being topped. Very easy to just top them. Okay, so anywhere I see one, I'm going to top it, because right now I want them to really start to get bushy. Get bushy, y'all. This is an interesting one. I don't know what to do with that. I'm not so sure that's a good look there. Because it really kind of compromises my whole tree forming concept, so I'm gonna be going down. Yeah, now I like that more. I was a little bit confused. This is a lot like art. Now this one, yes. Classic situation. See that? Snapped, grew down. Actually make a perfect cutting. But now look at that. It snapped. Re-strengthened, regrew. Despite that, maintained its situation and started to grow back up. This is in a J shape now. That will make such a cool cutting, because you know what we can do now. And I love using the natural situation here to just look. Now you can plant it like this and it will grow back up again towards the sun, and you have a very bizarre like hanger, you know, that you could hang something else on, or just a cool shape. And that's the kind of cool stuff you can do with cuttings if you're thinking creatively about it. You see no shortage of opportunities for producing new plants from these cuttings, but That's really not what I'm trying to do today, so I'll just leave it. Okay, so this process will continue down the way. I'm going to let these, again, all of the cuttings that I'm, and look, you see this one, these Mexican petunia are very soft, very easy to move. You can kind of just bend them a little bit without breaking them and get them to be where you want them to be. I'm just going to kind of trim them. All right. I hope there's no critters in these rocks that are going to come out and try to reduce the quality of my day, like a spider. All right. But you know, sometimes the spider does what a spider wants to do, so you just got to take your bites as they come. And well, if it was a brown recluse, you're in for a journey. Again, just topping everything. And really leaving most of it to just disintegrate. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. And I'm trimming it really low. And the reason is I want it to produce many sprouts that will then, I'll trim again to make a thick shrub even with this. So I'm looking ahead. Trim that low because I know it's super vigorous grower. It's going to grow up, and then I'm going to trim it again to get that thickness. This I trimmed up higher because it's already pretty thick, but I trimmed it back far enough so that when it does grow, it's in a nice trimmable spot again. And here we go. Okay, Mr. Mulberry. Why would you ever do something like this to a tree? I'll tell you why. Because it was just out of control. And I actually intended to get rid of this, and then I, you know, let my emotional attachment to this tree get the best of me, and I kept this stubaceous mulberry alive. It was it was the alpha mulberry in my yard. It was the first mulberry, so I'll admit it, I'm attached to it. But look, we still want it to look tree form, even though it's a gnarly thing. Just keep it tree forming. We're getting rid of the extra stuff. Oh, look at that, ants. See, this tree's long term, it's a goner. It's kind of all played out, so it's kind of like in hospice. This tree, and of course, we want it to be somewhat gentle in its ending years. But just with a few little snips, we're into something that looks better. Let's take a step back. You know, like a painter takes a step back, do the same thing. Looking a lot better. Now, of course, this situation I've got to deal with. I haven't decided what to do with it yet, so I'm not going to rush it. But this is a little bit shabby. We're going to go back pretty far. Yeah. Okay, so good example. We're well on our way. You can see there's that little cutting that I planted that's going to fill in the back there. I think that's going to work out really nicely. Okay, so I'm going to continue doing this, and I appreciate you coming along with me for the journey. If you are looking to do this kind of setup, maybe you enjoyed it. If you do like these kinds of videos, please don't forget to subscribe to Eat Your Backyard. I also have two other YouTube channels. One's called Surf All Day, A1A, and I have another one called Florida Fishy Finger, where you could look at other aspects of what we do. So I'd encourage you to go check those out and subscribe at will. And if you like this video, please go ahead and leave us some comments and tell us what you think, and give us a thumbs up, and you know, generally come back for more as you're notified as new videos come out. So go ahead and subscribe to Eat Your Backyard. And thank you for watching. Eat Your Backyard.